Welcome to NTD News. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Here are today's top stories. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will remain in power despite several scandals. However, his party suffered losses in yesterday's parliamentary election. House Democrats blocked a resolution to censure House Intel Chairman Adam Schiff. Republicans charged Schiff misled the public on Russian collusion and Trump's phone call with the president of Ukraine. Facebook says it will crack down on use of its platforms to manipulate elections. This as it says it's seeing increasing sophisticated attacks from Russia, China, and Iran. In the organization Hong Kong Civil Human Rights Front receiving an award in the U.S. for standing up for democracy in Hong Kong. Results from yesterday's election show Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will remain in power, but his party lost its majority in Parliament and will need the support of a smaller left-leaning party.
From coast to coast to coast, tonight Canadians rejected division and negativity.
Justin Trudeau's Liberals are projected to win Canada's elections, but lose their majority. It means that the country's incumbent Prime Minister will hold on to his job.
You are sending our Liberal team back to work, back to Ottawa with a clear mandate. We will make life more affordable. We will continue to fight climate change. We will get guns off our streets, and we will keep investing in Canadians.
But the 47-year-old will enter a second term with less power than before and will now need the support of a smaller left-leaning party in order to govern. Trudeau's seen as one of the world's most high-profile progressive leaders. He took power in 2015 as a charismatic figure, promising sunnier ways and championing diversity. But his hard-fought election campaign has been tainted by scandal. His popularity dropped as old photos of him in blackface emerged, and his handling of a corporate corruption case was widely criticised. In August, a top watchdog said Trudeau breached ethics rules. Canada's economy, though, has been on a general upswing in 2019. The Canadian dollar's been the best performing G10 currency this year as the economy added jobs at a robust pace and inflation stayed close to the Bank of Canada's 2% target. Ahead of the vote, polls had shown a tight race between Trudeau and his main rival, Conservative leader Andrew Scheer. Preliminary results showed the Conservatives actually won the national popular vote, but Scheer's hopes for a major breakthrough were dashed as his party trailed behind in a number of seats. US President Donald Trump, whose relationship with Trudeau has been testy at times, tweeted his congratulations on a wonderful and hard-fought victory. Minority governments in Canada rarely last more than 2.5 years.
House Democrats voted late yesterday to block a Republican motion to censure House Intel Chairman Adam Schiff. The censure was for conduct that misleads the American people.
The resolution was introduced by Representative Andy Biggs and was tabled on a vote of 218 to 185, effectively killing it. Earlier Monday, President Donald Trump appealed to House members to vote for Schiff's censure. He said in a tweet that any poll who does not so vote cannot be honest. Among the resolution's charges is that during a hearing on September 26th, Schiff purported to relay the content of a July 25th phone call between President Trump and Ukraine's President Zelensky, but added in his own words. Schiff said his retelling was meant to be a parody.
Whereas this egregiously false and fabricated retelling had no relationship to the call itself. Whereas these actions of Chairman Schiff misled the American people.
Additionally, the resolution condemns Schiff for spreading false accusations that Trump's 2016 campaign colluded with Russia. It also condemns him for negotiating with Russian comedians, who he believed to be Ukrainian officials, to obtain materials to damage Trump. As expected, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi stood by Schiff, instructing Democrats to vote against the censure resolution.
President Trump told cabinet about the toughest aspect of his presidency.
Speaking at a cabinet meeting on Monday, Trump was asked whether U.S. troops pulled out of Syria would be coming home or sent to other bases abroad.
Well, they're going to be sent initially to different parts, get prepared, then ultimately we're bringing them home. Yeah, we're bringing our troops back home. I got elected on bringing our soldiers back home. Now, it's not very popular within the Beltway because, you know, Lockheed doesn't like it, and these great military companies don't like it. It's not very popular.
He said the hardest thing he does is writing letters to parents of soldiers killed in the line of duty.
But I send many letters home to parents their son or daughter has been killed over in the Middle East. For what? For what? There are times to fight, and there are times not to fight. There are times to be smart.
The Justice Department has proposed a new rule that would allow it to collect more DNA from non-citizens. NTD's Holly Kellum has the details.
In July, the head of Customs and Border Protection said Border Patrol alone had found 5,800 fraudulent families since April. Those are adults who claim to be the parent or guardian of a child but aren't, or someone over 18 who claims to be a child. One of the ways to tell if a family is fake is through DNA. Currently, DNA testing is only done by consent of the adults. With their proposed Justice Department rule, the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, could be required to collect the DNA from non-citizen adults in its custody. The bipartisan 2005 DNA Fingerprint Act gave the Attorney General the authority to require all law enforcement agencies to collect DNA of detained non-citizens. But in 2008, the Justice Department made a rule that allowed DHS to opt out if the Attorney General agreed. Yesterday's proposed rule would do away with that exception. Holly Kellum, NTD News.
Facebook says it will take steps to combat misinformation and voter suppression ahead of the 2020 U.S. presidential election. On the same day, it will start labeling state-controlled media.
Facebook said on Monday it would increase transparency through measures such as showing more information about the confirmed owner of a Facebook page and more prominently labeling content that independent fact-checkers have marked as false. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube all recently came under scrutiny after showing ads from Chinese state-controlled media that criticized Hong Kong protesters. On Facebook, one recent post from a China-linked account likened the protesters to ISIS fighters, and a Twitter message said, "We don't want your radical people in Hong Kong. Just get out of here." Zuckerberg said they're facing increasingly sophisticated attacks from nation-states like Russia, Iran, and China, but he says he's confident they are more prepared. But the company will start labeling state-controlled media on its page and in the site's ad library. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson on Tuesday denied allegations of China's interference in the U.S. general elections.
Mourners are expected to gather Thursday at Concord Church in Dallas for the funeral of Atatiana Jefferson. She was killed in her home 10 days ago by a Fort Worth police officer while playing video games with her 8-year-old nephew. A neighbor had called police for a welfare check after seeing her door open late at night. An arrest affidavit said she grabbed her gun and pointed it toward the window before she was shot. The police officer has been charged with her murder. Her funeral will be open to all members of the community. An alarming new study reveals baby food may have traces of toxic heavy metals. 95% of the brands tested contain toxic metals that can pose serious threats to healthy brain development. Here's more on how you can reduce your child's exposures to dangerous ingredients.
Dangerous toxic heavy metals in baby food. That's according to a report by Healthy Babies' Bright Futures, which looked at 168 baby foods. Researchers found nearly all the foods they tested were contaminated with at least one of the following: lead, arsenic, cadmium, and mercury. The study has at least one senator demanding an investigation.
Even though the FDA has been asked to test baby foods for these toxic metals, they've sat on their hands.
Experts say even trace amounts of those neurotoxins can have a huge impact on a developing brain.
So we're looking at impacts like IQ loss, ADHD, behavioral effects.
The study's co-author recommends you take 3 key steps to limit exposure. Number 1, reduce rice. The report found foods with the most arsenic were rice cereals and rice-based snacks. Number 2, avoid juice. It's a significant source of heavy metals because kids drink so much. And number 3, add variety. Experts say parents tend to feed babies the same thing, like carrots and sweet potatoes, which, according to the report, are among the most contaminated. Experts say replace them with other veggies.
The Hong Kong Tank Man and the Civil Human Rights Front were awarded prizes in the U.S. for standing up for democracy in Hong Kong.
On Monday, U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern presented the 2019 Citizen Power Award to the Hong Kong Civil Human Rights Front. The group is a pan-democracy organization that has organized some of Hong Kong's largest demonstrations.
When I think about the courage and the guts it has taken for them to organize these peaceful demonstrations, for them to persist in the face of what we see as increasing brutality from the government of Hong Kong.
The group says it's committed to peaceful demonstrations. However, last Wednesday, the group's convener, Jimmy Sham, was allegedly attacked in the head with hammers by several unknown people. He was badly injured, but survived.
I want the people of Hong Kong to know that there are people in the United States Congress who are on their side, and I'm proud to stand with them.
The other award recipient is also being hailed a hero in Hong Kong. His name is Pastor Anthony, and some are calling him Hong Kong's Tank Man. On August 25th, during the clash between police and protesters, Anthony stood in front of a policeman who was pointing a gun at protesters. He asked him not to shoot, only to be kicked in the stomach. A student activist received the award on his behalf. Last week, the House passed the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act, a bill meant to punish Beijing for its interference in Hong Kong. The bill has to be passed in the Senate, then signed by the president before it becomes law.
I think this is one of those bills that's a must-pass bill.
Well, I continue to believe that the Senate will do the right thing, and I hope that the president will do the right thing as well. And
reporting by Kitty Wong, NTD News.
Both the Hong Kong and Taiwan governments have toughened their stances against each other in an escalating row over the fate of the fugitive murder suspect whose case sparked the city's extradition bill crisis more than 4 months ago.
Taiwan's Premier Su Tseng-chang said the government kept asking the Hong Kong government for legal assistance on the case in the past, but they never responded. And now they drastically changed their attitude, saying that they will send the suspect to Taiwan. This is very strange. Chan Tom-kai, a Hong Kong citizen, was accused of murdering his girlfriend in Taiwan last year, but wasn't sent back to face charges because there's no extradition agreement, though he was jailed in Hong Kong on money laundering charges. Chan is due to be released on Wednesday following 18 months behind bars. Hong Kong's Security Bureau, however, insisted that Taiwan had absolute jurisdiction over the case. Su said Hong Kong must make this homicide case a priority. But the murderer is in Hong Kong, family members of the victim are in Hong Kong, the suspect is in a Hong Kong prison. Therefore, the Hong Kong government has the convenience to work on this case, so it should put the suspect on trial. Su also raised suspicion that the Hong Kong government's vote farce might be a malicious political maneuver by Beijing. Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam had tried to resolve the case by proposing extradition amendments, but the bill sparked massive protests over fears they would put Hong Kong residents at risk of being sent into mainland China's Communist Party-controlled judicial system.
Up next, Japan's monarch formally marking his ascension to the throne in a centuries-old ceremony. Dignitaries from over 180 countries in attendance. That and more after the break.
This is extremely gutsy. The Chinese Communist Party is not known for taking criticism very well.
The police have blocked off the streets and been firing tear gas and beanbag rounds at the protesters, and they've made several arrests.
警方呢是一直进行了一些推进，并且呢是多次举起黑旗和橙旗呢去发射了很多的催泪弹。
即係佢哋放出去嗰陣時，嘭咁撞到個肚㗎。咁咧就我而家翻轉頭咧就見到個咁嘅嘢，因為嗰陣時兵荒馬亂咧，我就。
That's the media liaison. They're telling us that we need to get out of here. They're telling the press to leave.
Boy, this tear gas is getting pretty strong.
Our investigative reporters at the Epoch Times have spent 18 months uncovering the biggest political scandal in modern history. We connected the dots around Spygate, the actions by Obama-era officials against Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Join me on Declassified as we bring you up-to-date developments on this unfolding scandal.
Japan's monarch formally proclaimed his ascendancy to the throne today in a centuries-old ceremony, attended by dignitaries from more than 180 countries, pledging to fulfill his duty as a symbol of the state.
In an ancient ceremony, Japan's new monarch, Naruhito, formally ascended to the throne Tuesday. While he officially began his reign in May, only now, through a series of rituals called the Sokui no Rei, is he enthroned. He was clad in orange robes and a headdress only worn by monarchs and stood alongside two of Japan's three sacred treasures, an ancient sword and a jewel. His wife, Masako, wore 12 layers of robes. Naruhito read out a proclamation.
I swear that I will act according to the Constitution and fulfill my responsibility as the symbol of the state and of the unity of the people.
More than 100 foreign dignitaries were in attendance, including Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky, Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam, and Britain's Prince Charles. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe led all three in giving 3 cheers for the monarch. Banzai literally means 10,000 years or long life, effectively, long live the king. Naruhito is unusual among recent Japanese monarchs, as his only child, Aiko, is a girl and in current law cannot inherit the throne. Instead, the future of his family rests on his young nephew, Hisahito, who at 13 years old is second in line after his father. Monarch Naruhito's ascension comes in the wake of Typhoon Hagibis over a week ago, a massive storm that left 80 people dead. A parade where Naruhito meets the public was delayed to November out of respect for the victims.
In Chile, the government is taking action to try to calm violent protests that have been ongoing for days. Last night, it voted to repeal a public transit fare increase that sparked demonstrations. But they have also extended a curfew in Santiago for a third night. The city's mayor says at least 11 people have been killed in the unrest, as the protesters' anger has extended far beyond the fare hike.
One of Latin America's largest cities, Santiago, is paralyzed. At least 11 dead so far, hundreds arrested, and millions of dollars in damage since last Friday. Late Sunday night, the country's president, Sebastián Piñera, didn't mince words.
We are at war with a powerful enemy, relentless, that does not respect anyone or anything.
The president's rhetoric could spur further violence and protests that began over a transit fare hike. Violent clashes between police and protesters have gone on for days now, with dramatic effect. Looting has been rampant. Massive buildings and train stations have been set on fire. And for the first time since a military dictatorship ended in 1990, the country's military has been deployed on Santiago's streets. A national emergency has been declared as some politicians call for calm.
We are trying to bring back peace to the people. We've received your message, but in order to carry it out, we need to dialogue in peace.
The president first announced the hike would be suspended on Saturday. It did little, if anything, to calm things down. For protesters, the demonstrations and their frustrations are about so much more than a pricier metro ticket.
They are years of repression. They are years of living in misery. They are years of government-imposed measures at the expense of the people.
Though Chile is Latin America's wealthiest country, it also has one of the highest levels of economic inequality in the world. People are frustrated by what they call a lack of economic reform on a number of topics, including pensions, healthcare, and public education. There's also concern about government overreach, as on Sunday, authorities imposed a curfew. Some 10,000 police and armed soldiers were deployed.
Up next, watch as a flying air taxi takes a test flight in Singapore and what its developers are calling a milestone towards air mobility. Find out what rival companies are doing, that and more after the break.
When you look at TV networks in America, a soundbite and fight-it-out culture prevails on news and commentary programs. As a Canadian, I'm fascinated with America, and I wanted to offer American thought leaders an opportunity to share their thoughts in a deep dive format, where we can explore their ideas together. And so American Thought Leaders was born. The world's most brilliant thinkers believed that open discourse was the key to greatness. However, all around the world, we see that discourse is being stifled and political agendas have subverted media. The Epoch Times launched its Global Thought Leaders program to bring back this great tradition of free thought. As the host of American Thought Leaders, every week I interview some of the most intriguing minds on the most pressing issues of our time. Be sure to check out our new episodes every week.
The lasting beauty of traditional oil painting. Realistic style. Brilliant. Moving. Expressive. 2019 NTD Television International Competition for Figure Painting in Oil. Guided by truthfulness, kindness, and beauty. We invite you to join us on our journey back to traditional art. Gold Prize award of $10,000. For more detail, please visit oilpainting.ntdtv.com.
And an electric air taxi taking a test flight in Singapore's iconic Marina Bay today. German aviation firm Volocopter markets its air taxis as a new mode of transport.
Today's test flight was truly a milestone forward for the introduction of urban air mobility.
The flight itself, which was manned by a lone pilot, lasted for about 2 minutes, despite concerns of cancellation due to sporadic rainstorms that morning. Reuters is aiming to have his company's air taxi services launch in Singapore as early as 2021. Meanwhile, its rival, German developer Lilium, announcing Tuesday the completion of the first phase of testing its 5-seater flying car.
So you have an airplane that takes off vertically like a helicopter, but once it's in the air, it accelerates into forward flight and flies with wing-borne lift, and this way it achieves much higher speeds than cars, but also higher speeds than a helicopter.
The prototype achieving speeds in excess of 62 miles per hour, which gives Lilium the confidence to expand production capacity ahead of a planned commercial launch in 2025. Powered by 36 electric motors, the Lilium sports a fixed wing design that its makers say will give it an efficiency and range advantage over more drone-like competitors, such as German rival Volocopter and Britain's Vertical Aerospace. Audio-only baby monitors are becoming a thing of the past. Baby monitoring devices are getting smarter and parents are getting more data from them.
Dr. Marcus Bergman was a former accident and emergency doctor who saw a gap in the market after having children of his own.
Not only focusing on something horrible going wrong, but just supporting on the everyday routine.
The monitor clips onto a baby's shirt and is fastened securely. It communicates wirelessly with a data hub, a smartphone app, and smartwatches. With it, parents can record a continuous stream of data from their baby, including temperature, oxygen saturation, and even position in the cot.
So parent wristband has a lot of different functions. Firstly, it obviously alerts if there's something wrong with your baby. It also tracks your own well-being, so your activity, sleep, and steps. You can also use it to track your routine.
Another tech company, Owlet, has designed a wearable baby monitor that attaches to the infant's foot. It takes seconds to fit, but once it's on, it provides real-time updates of the baby's heart rate and oxygen saturation. Jesse Melanson, a demonstrator from Outlet, explains that because babies are smaller, a sock device provides the best positioning to get an accurate reading. However, there is a possibility that this constant stream of data could make parents even more neurotic.
Up next, Disney releasing the final trailer for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, on what would have been Carrie Fisher's 63rd birthday. Find out what the finale will include, that and more after the break.
Viewers have described China Uncensored like The Daily Show, but about China.
At the beginning, I was super excited when I got 500 views, and now the show's grown to about 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. One episode reached 7.9 million people. I'm a little freaked out that that many people have seen my face. In 5 years, I see China Uncensored as the sole source of edutainment worldwide.
SeaWorld is opening up a new Sesame Street theme park in San Diego. The park, based on the popular TV show, will be the first Sesame Place on the West Coast. It will be like the first one near Philadelphia. It will include Sesame Street-themed rides, shows, parades, and water slides. Sesame Place San Diego will also be a certified autism center and will include designated quiet spaces with adjustable lighting and comfortable seating. The park is expected to open in the spring of 2021. And Star Wars legend, the late Carrie Fisher, got a present on what would have been her 63rd birthday yesterday. The final trailer for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, was released. It marks her last appearance on film. It was released during halftime of the Patriots and Jets American football match on ESPN.
Disney dropped the very last trailer for the latest Star Wars movie Monday on what would have been Carrie Fisher's 63rd birthday. Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, will mark Fisher's last appearance on film. She'll play Princess, now General Leia, using footage already filmed before Fisher's death in December 2016. Rise of Skywalker will wrap up the 9-film story set out in the first Star Wars movie in 1977. After more than 40 years of empires striking back, clones attacking, and Jedis returning, Disney has said that with this film, the 9-episode saga focusing on the Skywalker family will finish. The filmmakers say it will also tie up loose ends from the current trilogy, including who Rey, the mysterious protagonist, actually is, as well as her relationship with villain Kylo Ren. Rise of Skywalker is set to open just before Christmas.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir, at my friends.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us again tonight. I'm Tiffany Meyer.